Welcome to Speaking on the Unspoken. I am Krishandra Matthews, and today, back in the studio with us is Kalila Harris, domestic violence survivor, domestic violence advocate, and what she do is create a noise and interruption in the room when she comes in and begins to make that conversation so openly comfortable for me about domestic violence. Welcome today.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
And I really mean that. You are one of the people that really make me comfortable, not only talking about domestic violence, but digging deeper and really understanding what it means when we talk about domestic violence, when we talk about domestic awareness. So I really want to thank you for coming back on the show so we can continue the conversation. I kind of felt like we kind of left them a little bit.
Yes.
I wanted to share just a few more statistics around teenagers and abuse with teenagers and what does that mean. I wanted us to come back together and really finish that conversation. So thanks for coming back, but I really wanted you to dig in with me today and talk to me about domestic violence and domestic awareness and what it means.
Okay. Domestic violence, what it basically is a pattern. It's an abusive pattern. It can be abusive pattern of physical, hitting, biting, pinching, scratching. It's a pattern of financial, holding back finances and resources from your partner. It's a pattern of emotional abuse, name calling, putting down someone's persons, who they are, their self-esteem. It's an abuse of mentally breaking down a person emotionally, spiritually, not making them feel good about themselves. So it's more than just physical. Domestic violence, it's a lot of different things, and some people experience all of them or just maybe one or two in a relationship.
And what I noticed as I began to dig deeper after we left our last session is that it's starting to begin younger and younger, and it's even more rampant in same-sex relationships. And can you tell me why you think that is?
Well, it's getting younger and younger. Our children are getting into relationships a lot younger, of course. Us as parents, we should know who our children are talking to, social media, school, in person. Sometimes they may hide their relationships that they have a boyfriend and a girl or a girlfriend. And now since same-sex relationships are getting more and more popular these days, they're really hiding relationships, especially if they are of the same sex. So that's why they're getting younger, and younger. But also the domestic violence or toxic behaviors, as I would call them, that children do in relationships leads to domestic violence. Children that are younger who haven't seen a good example of a healthy relationship, or who hasn't been taught boundaries of their own personal self, or to respect boundaries of other people, or how to respect children or people within themselves. So when they get into relationships, they bring those behaviors into the relationships that they are in.
And I want to tie in right there because when you start talking about physical abuse and how does that affect our adolescents, it's linked to mental health. It's linked to mental disorders. It's linked to poor school performance, as well as substance abuse, suicide, and aggression. Sexual abuse is linked to depression, eating disorders, sexual dysfunction, and even early pregnancy, as well as increased risk of further sexual abuse and abduction into sex trafficking. And see, a lot of times parents don't understand that small introduction. It's a small window, especially in Ohio, Toledo, Youngstown, all the support, all of those surrounding counties that lead you right over into another state.
True.
And it's so rampant. That's a conversation for another day. But sex trafficking in Ohio is also at an all-time high, as well as childhood suicide.
Yes, it is.
The numbers in Cuyahoga County are drastic. So when I say that, I needed to call you back. I needed us to finish this conversation. I need parents to really, we have to take back over parenting. We living in a time with social media. Go in your room, get away from me, go over there, go sit down, go in there, go play your game, go. We're living in those times. And when you're living in those times, we have to be aware. I say it all the time, Kay. We pay the electric bill.
Yes.
We buy the Wi-Fi. We buy the PlayStation 5, Xbox 3, all of it. We have to pay the electricity bill to keep all those things A lot of the children that I encounter have iPhones. We pay for the iPhone. We pay for the bill. So we have to take back over parenting. It's not that mommy is trying to be a watchdog or dad's being a watchdog, but it's called parenting so that we know what's coming in their ear gates. We know what's coming in their eye gates. I was riding with my cousin, and the music came on, and I didn't know how to use her dashboard, but I was trying to touch everything on the dashboard to get the radio to go off. And I had to have a whole conversation with her about why the children don't need to hear that.
Yes, it's very, very important to monitor the music that your children are listening to. And with, like you said, all the electronics and technology that we have, it's very hard to do that. So if you really cannot monitor, speak to your children about the music that they are listening to. Tell them this is not reality. Make the difference between even the video games, the violence in the video games. This is a game. This is not reality. This is music. It's for entertainment, but it's not for you to follow. It's not for you to listen to. It's not for you to do. So you have to make that division for them between reality and entertainment. And if you don't, it can be confused. It can be combined with what they see on TV too as well. Just the TV programs. It's entertainment. It's not reality.
My son is a video gamer. He likes games. He likes sports. But a lot of the rap music is introduced to him through Madden.
Yes.
So I'm trying to learn can I cut the music and let him play the sport or do the music out of can I play gospel music on top of Madden? How do I, and that's just me parenting. Or him singing a song and me wondering, where did he learn that song? And he like, Mom, this is my song on Madden. And I bought the game and I bought the Madden. And it's another way. It's another avenue.
Yep.
So once again, me and my parenting, trying to figure out now how to over this music on Madden so that he can enjoy the game of football, but not indulge in the music portion.
Yep, and that's very good. So, and it's good for you to listen to the music that he is listening to. So you'll know exactly what's going on in his ears, what's on his mind, what's on his brain, what he's thinking. And then you can be able to break some of that down and explain to them. Even the rappers may not be living like this. They are just entertaining you. Their life could be separate from actually what they're saying. And even in movies and actors, they're acting. Is not for real. So it's not for you to go ahead and imitate. Even with the video games.
I was just going to say with TikTok now. We've been having some real, you can put parental control on various portions of various things. So it's only but so far your child can get in. But being a realist, because I run an organization, so some of them computers may, let you get in a little further. But even with that, having real conversations with him around what's real on TikTok. You can't go eat no tag.
Yes, drink pine saw.
You can't drink no pine saw.
Right.
And they doing it on TikTok for 5,000 views. But they tearing their bodies up. True. Eating these products. So I have to have real conversations. Not only that, the hot challenges. Takis and, some of that's on some of them. They doing these, how hot do you like it challenge or whatever. Something hot. Again, it's going to blow your everything on your inside.
Yes, it is.
But really just having conversations with him because we're in the social media age. They're going to see it sometimes.
And social media has taken social skills from us. And that's even in our parenting. Your child could be in the same house. You would text them before you call their name. Ooh. You would text them and say, hey, can you bring me this? Or how you doing? Or how was school? Instead of sitting down, having a conversation with your child, talking with them, sitting down, having a meal with them. Even if you're just sitting down watching a meal. I mean, social skills are gone. You have friends who come over to visit your child. They're on the phones. They're on, IG, still DMing each other, sitting next to each other. So we need to bring that social skills back. We need to bring the talking back, the relationships.
It's so funny you say that. My son and two of his friends were over the weekend, and I kicked them out the house. Okay. I said, you got a football, basketball, baseball, soccer ball, a basket. Like, it's something outside all of y'all can do. And now you got some people to do it with. Y'all got to get out of here. And just because we used to have to go outside and play. Like, you couldn't just lock up in the room in 5 hours and just game out. Like, it wasn't even an option. And I understand now why we had a TV room. When my mom shut the TV room down, it was over. I used to think that was so mean. I understand now.
Yeah.
Because it was everything in moderation, which kind of leads into our next portion of the conversation, setting healthy boundaries.
Yes.
Boundaries where they can feel comfortable to come and talk to us about no matter where. Boundaries where they can feel comfortable and say, hey, this person pinched me every day on the school bus for the last 2 weeks, and I was scared to tell anybody. But we have to create spaces in our home where they can tell us. Another thing is helping them understand bullying, helping them understand just someone picking on you and someone teasing you. And then once again, when the abuse starts, you got to help them understand. I was reading this study that says children that are home alone don't learn the beginning skills of combat.
Okay.
So when you got another sibling, you two, bicker and fight amongst yourselves, so you learn your first combat skills.
Yes.
So then when you have a child that's home alone, the first time they learn combat skills is once they have an altercation in preschool or kindergarten or first grade and they're on. And I just said, wow, that's really astonishing, never thinking about it like that. So you have to have conversations then with your children and say, hey, that child's just picking on you. Hey, that child, that's bullying.
And really, and then to explain the difference,
Yes.
what is picking
And teasing.
and teasing and bullying, because that really
It's
is
a thin
almost
line.
one of the same, honestly. So where's the line? Where do you draw the line with explaining your child what is a joke,
Right.
or someone just, children just teasing, or
Yes.
when the bullying does start, teasing can actually lead to bullying if it's not controlled or, told or spoken to. So sometimes children don't tell until it's too late, until it's to the bullying stage, because they don't realize what's going on themselves.
And that's why I believe it's so important not to only create a safe place, but let them know that they have that out. Like I tell my son, you got an out in school in administration. Okay, I done got you one out. You got her phone number. You got everything. She calls. She'll come get you out of class, like whatever you need. I'm your other out. So you got an out on the inside. You got an out on the outside. But let him know if you ever feel uncomfortable, pull her to the side. Give her, they need to know who those people are that they can talk to.
So you say create a safe space. How do we create a safe space? What is a safe space?
Okay, so just say he is a child that has been bullied prior to. So helping him understand that he has the authority as a child to say, can I go to the office?
Okay.
He don't know, unless you teach your child that, they don't know that they have that right as a child.
To respect their
To
boundaries,
respect their boundaries
their
and
personal body, themselves,
Their area.
Their area,
Yeah.
yes.
Because I tell my son what personal space is.
Personal
I said
space.
all children don't understand that, but as you begin to grow, arm's length, they call this personal space. So no matter what, you with somebody, you give them a little personal space. But creating that safe space is let him know that you can remove yourself from wherever
Okay.
to make a phone call, to talk to an adult, or to get to a safe, out of there to a safe place.
To a safe place.
Yes. So then at home, I try to curate an atmosphere in which no matter what's going on, we can talk about our day, we can talk about our feelings, we can talk about our emotions. Because, my thing with my son, no day is going to be perfect, but if we apply ourselves, we can have a great day. So on them bad days, let's talk about it. No days are perfect.
And you can create that time, too. I normally create that time with my daughter over a meal.
Okay.
That's the time where we sit down, no TV, no phones, and we just catch up and we talk about any and everything. So creating that safe space is good to just have it routine. Just find a routine. If it's after a meal, if it's during the meal, even if they're helping prepping the meal, kind of make it more casual conversation, just routine, a part of their day, that safe space where they know this is the time that I have set aside to discuss anything and everything that is going on with me. So you can do it before bedtime, whatever works for your family. But you want to put that time aside and create that safe environment to where they can feel comfortable talking to you about different situations.
And just to connect back, 93% of CMSD students have faced some sort of trauma. So if 93% of CMSDs face some sort of trauma, that's almost the whole school system. So we as parents have to remember that for a lot of the children that our child is interacting with, they're in school to get away from home.
Absolutely. I'm a part of the Adopt a School program in Cleveland, and I talk to the children at school. A lot of them will prefer to be at school. They do have issues at home that they talk about. Lack of resources, even getting to and from school, lack of food, just the basic things. You know, Friday is coming, the weekend is coming. Hey, what are you doing this weekend? I almost hate to ask that question because you would think it's the weekend and children are going to have fun during the weekend and enjoy. Most of them don't because they don't have the necessary resources at home to just be able to enjoy the weekend. So they do experience trauma. Trauma can be abuse, but can also be neglect of not having the resources that you need to be at home too, which can also lead to toxic behavior. If you come to school hungry, or you know you're going to go home and don't have a meal, or your lights is cut off, or your gas is cut off, it kind of makes you irritated, agitated. You're not concentrating in school.
On your mental health again.
Yes, it may lead to bullying on other children who you think may have more than what you do, you know, who you think may have. So it can lead to toxic behaviors too as well.
And the one thing about the toxic behaviors is helping our children identify what they are.
Yes.
That's a perfect thing. When we say helping them identify, helping them know that the hitting, the shaking, the burning, the pinching, the biting, the choking, the throwing, the beating, and any action that can cause physical or leave marks or cause pain. So in other words, if your child is riding on the school bus and somebody done pinched them for the last 6 weeks, last 2 weeks 6 times, but they ain't tell you, we have to remember, okay, what is it I need to do? Is it over dinner? Is it at breakfast? Sometimes we have to help our child create an affirmation so they can speak life over themselves while they're in that classroom. But we have to help them be able to express themselves so that they don't turn into the 93% that's suffering from trauma, that's undiagnosed, that nobody don't know, and it's not being addressed.
And it's something that maybe should be taught in our schools too as well, because when you come from a toxic environment, how do you know that your behavior or your environment is even toxic? Because your dysfunction is functional for you. Your dysfunction is normal. What isn't normal is your normal.
You know, when you say that, I think about a lot of the families. A young lady and her daughter had some altercations in school. And as I began to think about it, you begin to say, how do we break these ties? Like, how do we break these off our children? Because they deserve to go to school and be in an environment that's conducive to a quality education. Why do we even have to have or worry about bullying and hitting and teasing? And unfortunately, it's a world that we live in right now. And we have to speak on the unspoken and have these conversations.
Yes, and our unspoken, most of the time, we don't want to say, but are our children, our teenagers, especially our adolescents that are learning social skills, learning where they belong in this world, which is confusing and enough by itself. So to be bullied and picked with, and then, you know, you're getting to the stage where you're liking someone. You're having feelings and emotions, you know, for someone, you know, be opposite or the same sex. How do you discuss that? What do you do with that? So if you have feelings and emotions that you do not know how to handle, or you don't know what they are, or you cannot define them, it can also come out as in bullying, hitting, pinching, touching, picking with, you know. And then they also have another avenue of bullying, which is social media.
Oh yes, cyberbullying is
Yes.
that's another whole 30-minute session conversation. Because a lot of what the cyberbullying is wanting that approval on social media as well. And then what they call them, the trolls and the various people, followers, being able to give you an instant opinion about anything that you post. And just like a kid in school, They just want to be liked. They just want approval. And why you trolling me? So when you get to reading the statistics of cyberbullying in various states, it really saddens you as you look into childhood suicide. Both are astonishing. All you have to do is just Google childhood suicide, put in your county where you are. You can also Google the statistics around sex trafficking anywhere in Ohio so that you can begin to have comfortable conversations because they're taking boys and girls. And then thirdly, creating a space with your child. If it's the ride home, you know y'all in that car 20 minutes every day, but allowing them, especially our boys, they teach our boys you can't cry. They teach our boys to man up, to teach up. So if he can't cry and he got to man up and tough up, where's his safe place then to come share feelings and emotions?
Exactly. So it is important to teach our young children, both boys and girls, how to deal with their emotions, that it's okay to cry, that it's okay to be angry, but how do I deal with my anger? I can be angry, I can be mad, I can be upset, but that doesn't give me the right to hit or pick or tease. So it's important, maybe take a deep breath, count to 10. It's important to maybe get a stress ball, a punching bag, just for the young boys to be able to get them in some boxing, karate. There are different activities, maybe go for a walk, but we need to teach them how to, deal with anger. But also when you was talking about social media, another thing social media does too, you go on social media and it looks like everyone is in a relationship but you. Everyone is happy, everyone is smiling, everyone's in a relationship. And, I'm not. So that tends to have children get into relationships younger and also stay in unhealthy relationships because you want to be happy. You want to show off your boyfriend, your girlfriend, and that you're in a relationship, like you think everyone else is. But what you see on social media isn't always true. And that needs to be explained to our children too as well.
Yeah, it's a facade. I talk to my son a lot about it. A lot about how people monetize social media. So understanding the monetization side of that to know it ain't all. And then even my girlfriends, and like you said, when we having these conversations, everybody want to look like that. So everybody want hashtag Black Love, hashtag 216, hashtag relationship go. But does it even really mean that? It's so much more in rearing and raising our children than a social media post. It's so much more, especially with our boys and our young women, as they go from young adults to adults, of helping them understand who they are and what their value and their worth is as they create these relationships so that they don't have to settle. So that when they see the signs of toxicity, they can run. I know you brought a couple resources, but even in a domestic violence situation as a parent or even as a child seeing their parent in those situations, how can I help or how can I get help? And I think women really got to know that it's a lot more help out. It's more help. Providence House. If you overwhelmed with your children and you just need them to go somewhere for a few hours, you can go to Providence House and you can leave the kids and nothing's going to happen. They're going to take care of them kids and they give mommy a little space so she can take care of herself. Cleveland Housing Network is helping with rent. So if you stand in a toxic relationship just because you think you don't have anywhere else to go, guess what? CHN now has some resources available, so they'll be able to help you out. I talked with Kay a little bit before the show, and she shared the domestic violence awareness hotline. So we don't have to suffer in silence any longer, and what we can do is create places where our children can not only heal, but they can become whole, because we as parents took back over parenting. Because that's the thing, we have to first take back over parenting. When we do something different, our children are going to see something different, Kay.
And how do we make our children become whole? We become whole ourselves. We become whole men, whole women. Being whole means to be healed from your traumas. It means to be healed emotionally, spiritually, physically, mentally, as a whole, to be able to become whole, to be able to walk in your purpose. That is how your child becomes whole. How can you teach your child to deal with trauma and you haven't dealt with your own? What advice could you give them to navigate
You want to be my
through
co-host?
through anger? But your child is angry.
Yes.
How do you teach them to navigate through anger, and you don't know how to navigate through anger, or how to navigate just different things. We feel like we're not good enough, or our self-esteem is low. How do we teach them to navigate through fear when we haven't been able to navigate through those things ourselves? So being made whole, yes, it's okay to go to therapy. It's okay to talk to someone. It's also okay to cut out toxic friendships and relationships. I say that because there was a time in my life I would spend 3-4 hours on the phone with my girlfriends, and you know what we're doing? We're talking about our toxic relationships. Mm-hmm. It's all toxic. He hit me. He pushed me down the stairs. He poured bleach on me. Girl, I got one better for you. He did this and I did this. And I spent hours talking about toxicity and didn't realize that what was going on. So as I matured, as I became whole, as I started healing from my traumas, I was able to cut out those toxic relationships and therefore be able to teach my daughter, how to navigate out of toxic relationships and teach her to become whole and be in healthy relationships.
I really want to thank you for coming on today. I want to thank you because I felt like when we were here on our last session, I knew we needed to put some more sprinkles and a cherry on top of that. But I really want to thank you for always sharing your story and being transparent, but helping women understand that we can truly heal together, but we can work on becoming whole. And it's in that wholeness that we help our children thrive, not survive, but thrive. And that's above and beyond. And a lot of time, even as parents, we just get in survival mode. We went to work today, the kids ate, They did their homework, we cooked dinner, they had to shower, they going to bed. But sometimes in our healing, we have to understand what it is that they need. Okay, so now we got to carve out a few more minutes out that day to allow them that conversation so they can share with them how was school today, so they can share with us what type of day they're having, whether good or bad, so that we can be able to begin to bond together. We can bond together with a recipe. We can bond together with a movie. We can bond together with some s'mores. But at some point, we got to take back over our parenting. Follow me, Krishandra Matthews at Literacy in the Hood. My special guest today, Kalila Harris, domestic violence advocate, domestic violence survivor, and look what we're working on to do real soon in the community for women that are suffering in silence. Thanks for joining me today.
You're welcome.